just happened to be honing, and said, you know, it'd be a good time to like throw together a little bit of a video. I have this Frameback, and the dimension on this blade, okay, it's been honed up towards the spine like a lot. I don't know if you can you see in there? No, probably not, right? There's engraving here, and the edge is very close to the bottom of that engraving, and so I know this has been honed a lot, and I don't think the spine wear is commensurate with that. So I think the spine is too thick for this dimension, leaving me with, you know, too much of a bevel angle. But it's borderline. I'm eyeballing it, and you know, I recently there's a thread on a shaving forum, and some new dude is just like, well, how can you eyeball it? Well, after you hone a lot, you can eyeball some things, and I can tell you that this angle is too stout for me. But the correct thing to do after I work this blade a little bit is to take the measurements and see exactly what I got. It's a Swedish Frameback, so the steel is really hard, and it takes a killer edge. Even with a stout angle, it's going to shave a little bit nicer than a lot of other types of blades might. This is my experience. Steel is really hard. It takes literally sometimes, like, you know, with Nagura and stuff, like twice as much work, and that's a pain in the ass, actually. But the result is, you know, an edge that lasts, so that part's good. I've been beating the hell out of this blade for a long time. I don't know if you saw my Etsy shop. I just came up with this paste. It's what I call Tomo Blue. I've been testing it. It's my own thing. You can't buy that abrasive over the counter anywhere. It's industrial. It's an oddball thing, and you wouldn't expect it to do what it does, but it does, and it does it really good. However, I still like to compare back and forth. I prefer stone edges. Does that make sense? I prefer edges off of hones. Jnat edges, for example, you know, Asher edges, conical edges too, most of the time for me, Jnats. So what's with the pastes? Well, the story with the pastes is goes back to me wanting to make my own barber hone, and I'm still in that. But I changed things up because I want to make something better, not equal. I can buy equal. I need something better. I need something cooler. I need something more badass. So I'm looking into some esoteric compounds and, you know, just not your garden variety types of abrasives. And the stuff that's in the Tomo Blue is literally ridiculous. So I've been using this and going back and forth, honing and then tasting and then honing and then pasting back and forth. Here's my paste strop thing. So I've been going back and forth, and the paste, this stuff is ridiculously fine, and it leaves a stupid sharp edge. And to me, it's better than, you know, any CBN or any diamond pasted edges. But because I prefer stone edges, I keep going back to the stone. Plus, I'm using the stone edge to compare to that edge and testing shaving efficiency and, you know, so on and so forth. I had an absolutely stellar shave tonight off of this blade, and what I'm doing is actually I brought it down to 0, and now I'm honing back up, and I went through my early stages, and I had a double up on Botan. Here's my Botan, right? This is, you know, my gang that couldn't shoot straight in a girl. It's got like a shark bite taken out of it. Anyway, had a double up on that because I just couldn't get to where I wanted to go, and there was a little bit of a burr in there, I think, from my speedy work on my bevel setter, and so I had to take that off. I couldn't shake the burr on Botan for some reason. I don't know why, but I have this Tenju, okay, again with a shark bite in it. This is like the burr killer stone. I don't know what it is. It's got like gravelly, pebbly type of something going on, and it destroys burrs. So I could feel it come off, and then I had to rinse the stone and go back, so I had to double up on that also. Now, this blade has a smile in it. I put it there. It's actually not a perfect smile. The blade was like a little honed up too weird, so I don't want to take too much metal off, but I want to kind of like smooth it out. So I wound up with a little bit of a smile, and because of that, I have to do a little bit of a roll, and I think you can probably see it, you know. Oh, another thing about this, the slurry from this Tenju, it will defy you for undercut. It is like psycho anti-undercut. It just, I don't know why. I left that and I came on to my Majiro, which is, yeah, here it is, this guy. And boom, instant undercut, okay? But with this, the slurry from this, it just fights me. And like, that's something to know. That can happen, you know? So people like talk about undercut, I do. But you have to take everything in stride. You can't, you shouldn't, I don't. I'm not looking for absolute perfection all the time. ABC 1 2 3 LMNOP. Honing isn't like that. I go up, I go down, I double up, I triple up, I go back, I start over, I go by feel. If I feel bumples, I go back. Yes, bumples again with that highly scientific term. But you know what I mean. It's like that ball-bearing gravelly thing under there. There's like a certain amount of it that's good, okay, and then there's another type that's, I don't know, it's kind of like the ball bearings have grooves in them, so there's an enhanced kind of gravelly feeling that, like, you just don't want that, all right? Now you see what I'm doing right now is I'm talking right too much, and my stone dried out, so I don't want to run the blade over dry stone, but I don't want to add more water either, so I just move it around with my finger. You have to be careful with that, actually, that you're not, you know, injecting crap into your slurry. That's one of the reasons I put towel down. I'm constantly wiping my fingers off. Anyway, so here I am on my Majiro, and I'm not feeling like I have to double up on this. Not at all. You know, I feel like any of the distractions at the edge that I created by going back and forth between the paste and the stones and the whatever else I was doing. I was comparing synths. I was just all kinds of crazy shit. Because I want to know. You know, I want to know like what's sharper, what's smoother. So anyway, so here I am honing this lovely Frameback. Now this thing shaves like a demon. Okay, it's like part wedge in that it's stiff and there's no hollow grind to it, but it's very thin, so it has a little bit of that hollow grind feel to it, but it doesn't feel like either a wedge or a hollow grind. The feedback is similar to a wedge in that it's very stiff and it just kind of blows through whiskers, but it's not as heavy as a wedge, so it doesn't have that steamroller effect. And believe it or not, because it's a thinner blade, there's a fair amount of feedback. Where most heavy wedges or near wedges, they won't have that. They're just like silent whisker killers, you know. They're like ninjas. Wedges are ninjas. That's it. That's my new thing. I'm going to call all my wedge blades ninja blades. All right. They're silent but deadly. Okay. And no, that's like a fart. No, I don't mean that. The hollows are like singing and they're making noise and they're flexing and all that other crap. And so there's that. Anyways, the comber I'm using right now, and actually I have a new comber I was going to use. I'll save it for the next video. It's a monster, okay? And it's so nice. My God, is it such a nice comber. It's one of those Culpas, sword grade. It's really sweet. I can't believe I forgot to take it out. But this is pretty killer too, you know. And this actually is a perfect match for that Majiro. I've been doing this a while and I've honed a gazillion edges. I work really hard at matching my stones and my slurry with my blades and everything so I can get like the best results, you know, for me. You know, not going to say that this assembly is going to be good for you, but chances are it would be. But everybody's got their own thing, you know. And look at this, I got a little dry there. Not good, not cool. And yeah, so I constantly have to roll on this blade. Now this stone, this is that Oozuku that's been in like a couple of videos so far. You know, I'm doing my roll. You know, my undercut is good. So Yeah, the Swede. Hard blade, right? Takes a little bit of extra work, worth the investment, you know. I think a lot of people get to hone these, and sometimes I hear them say things like, oh, it's not performing up to snuff, or, you know, whatever. I think a lot of that has to do with not getting the bevel nailed, because the amount of work needed to set the bevel is greater, and if you don't have all of your feedback and skills in place, then you might think you nailed it when you didn't, right? It really does take a bit to set a bevel on one, especially if it came in crappy shape. Like this one was not so great. A lot of them are not so great. I do see an awful lot of these framebacks with egregious, horrible things done to them so far as corrosion and stuff goes. You know, and all right, back to framebacks for a sec here. This one doesn't need tape. You'll find the ones that have like a brass tube back here. They're really cool looking. The tang is usually very thin, whereas this one is still thinner than some non-frameback razors, but those blades with the tubular spine, you'll find that more often than not the tang is very, very, very skinny. Some people find that difficult to work with. I don't. But anyway, yeah, this slurry is thinned out. It's also a little depleted. I'm really sensing the aceto, the Oozuku, which is stupid hard. Definitely, this is officially now in the super hard class I have. It's not like it just got there or anything. It's just I was kind of undecided, you know, and because I'm probably going to sell it and I want to be sure, so I hone on a lot. I lapped it a bunch of times. I just actually relapped it again last night, and I put it on 400x sandpaper and smoothed it out, because I left some marks in the top because I was a little rough with Tomo Nagura, and it just killed a sheet of paper, and like boom, you know, like yeah, I have 400x sandpaper that's probably now working like 1K, which is fine. Anyway, so you see my undercut here is good, and I can tell you the feedback is the feedback from the Nagura is gone. It's exhausted. It's a piece of Namito. Kind of difficult to get Tomo like this. It's one of my favorites. I've had this so long. It was a bigger piece, and I cut it in half, and the other half is well, part of the other half is in my travel kit. But it's a very hard Tomo. Not quite as hard as this, but it's hard enough where I'm going to kick up some base stone while leaving a decent amount of its own particles in the slurry. The slurry from this particular Tomo is very rich with particulate, and the particulate is very like sharp, not needly, but it can cause that kind of effect on your edge. It's very sharp. It takes some time to work down. You need some pressure. You got to lean into it, back off, lean into it, back off. You got to get water down on the stone, let the particles absorb the water, so it's easier to work with it. Anyway, basically this is top 10 performer. There's a killer piece of stone. A nice little bit of con pattern over there towards the edge, otherwise a Sahi, but you can, yeah, there's that car. I don't number anything like this anymore. That's like old, very old. I definitely want to have a decent amount of slurry on top of my stone, so I can basically work across the edge, back and forth, completely evenly. Okay, yeah, when you shortchange yourself on slurry, you get through it very quickly, but you haven't worked the edge 110%, which is really more what you want. If you're in this to go fast, you know, go buy a naniwa, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, you know, things take time. And yeah, I'm going to use two hands for a sec, because I just want to guide this through the roll with my other hand, just a little slow. I just want to see my feedback. Yeah, I'm good. You know, different densities of slurry will give you different types of undercut. Slurry from the same Nagura made in different thicknesses will feed back differently. You see, you kind of gotta be very consistent before you start getting to the point where you can go up and down the pike with different densities. You know, I've used this Tomo like God knows how many times. I don't know. It's ridiculous. So no matter what I do, I can make near mud and still hone pretty well, although I really don't want to do that. If you get this stuff too thick, it will kill your edge. You can't come back from it. Okay? That's why people say, you know, what do you need a Tomo? What do you need Nagura for? This and that and the other thing. You just do, like, make some slurry and you just do this and it all. Now, the edges are some of its parts. Every step has a fingerprint, like you know, a signature on the steel. If you're not feeling it, trust me, it's there. If you keep working with it, eventually it'll come to you. You know, it's kind of like, you know, to an untrained palate, everything might taste like chicken, but not everything is chicken. Chicken's good. I like chicken, but there are times I want pheasant and broiled trout, and you know, whatever, sashimi, or you know, something else. So I get myself different Nagura. Anyway, I really don't need to do much more work, to be honest. The edge was in super fine condition to start off with. The early steps were just done as a matter of protocol to give me, you know, what I want to call pseudo perfection. You know, I'm just ironing out any possible like distractions and eliminating doubt, and then moving forward. I didn't look at it under a microscope because I don't look at every blade under a microscope. I can really tell by feeling like where I'm at, and I can tell you that this is very, very super near. Few more passes. Closing passes. This stone is like so super hard. Feedback is tough on this. You have to be really dialed into it. I have very, very sensitive fingertips, and I've been doing this a while, so I can pick up on it kind of readily. This is literally where I need to be. And, you know, testament to this stone, it broke down this slurry really quickly, really quickly. This is long-lasting stuff. I mean, on a lesser stone, this goes on for like, you know, an entire ice age. You know, it's nuts. Literally, right now, I kind of feel like I'm on water only. And I'm going to wash this off. I'm going to clean this off. Sorry about that. Because I don't know if you can see it, but those marks on the cloth, that's from the second shot. In fact, that's clean. All right. So what am I going to do? That's it. We're done. Tomorrow's shave is a lock. So anyway, just want to touch base and do. I know it still takes longer than, like, you know, a lot of people's videos, but you know that's honing is time. And like James just said, I put in the time. Anyway, you should put the time in too, all right? But make sure you have fun. Until next time, take care.